Okay, folks, following morning, and we're back on this thing. Been working on it for a couple hours now, since about daylight. But anyway, we've got our panel in, sill panel, whatever you want to call it, above the rocker. And you know, when you're doing a job like this, it's pretty overwhelming. You need to find a starting point, and usually that starting point will get you where you need to go, and you know, it's not so bad. So you know, we got something solid in, so we know we can build off of that solid piece. So anyway, the problem with this is it's still pretty overwhelming, even for me. That's just going to be a normal feeling, so you just can't let that hold you back from getting something done. And because we've got rust way farther over on this one. We've got it under the gas pedal, and then we've got the cutout for the master cylinder. We've got the seat issue, but this one's got a bracket up under it, so we're going to have to try to peel all this back. And I don't think I got an air chisel anymore. Mine messed up. I hadn't bought one yet. And then we've got some rust back toward the back that we're going to have to take care of. So we've actually got a lot more on this side to do than the other side, and we had to build brackets for the front and back over here because of the you know, so much missing there. So, and no, that's not factory like it was. They did have a bracket that came down and bent out and met to it, but it was actually flush with this, and I went ahead and went on top of it. It don't affect the door, you know, the closing, and you know, like I said, I'm not worried about this being exact perfect. And so now it's one of them situations of where do you start. And the last one I started toward the back. I think this one I'm going to start toward the front and work my way back, and not because of any reason except that there's more to do up here, and I want to go ahead and start getting it done. Gas pedal was really hard to operate in this thing. One thing good, our clutch pedal's coming back up now. We still haven't got under there and greased it, but when I get this floor out right here, that pedal comes down and around right here, and it's going to be a good time to take care of that. I think my master cylinder should be in a little bit, so we may be able to get it changed while the floor's out, and that would be nice. And as for the pedal, you've got a piece of linkage that comes off of it, and it's supposed to sort of hinge at the bottom, pivot off something. Not sure how it was originally. We may just take a short piece of piano hinge and put on there, and once we get it the floor right and get it where that rod is straight, and because the way it is now, it's really hard to give it gas, and of course that'll just fall through the floor. So we're going to do that also, and it really needs changed, but I'm not too worried about it. Again, I'm not restoring this thing. I'm just trying to make it as a solid, decent driver, and you know, if this gets passed on to the next person, they can do all that kind of stuff. You know, that's the mechanical and the floor. I mean, this is something that a lot of people just don't want to mess with, and I totally understand it. You know, I've always been one that jumps in on jobs that are probably too overwhelming for most, and you know, that's just the way that is. But we're going to I guess go ahead and get us a piece bent, and then lay it in, start cutting. I'll probably take these plates out because we're going to have to go up a little ways to get past any of the rust, and hopefully they won't be too bad up under them. But and then we've got another curve, so we got a compound curve here. There's two of them, so we'll have to work with that. And you know, the thing about it is, when you're doing a floor, it don't matter how many pieces you use. I mean, especially when you're using 16 gauge like I'm using, because you can weld it together good. Now, I don't know what this would have been factory. You know, probably 18, or I doubt 20, but maybe even 20. A lot of people that do floors and do body work, they like to use 20 gauge because it's easy to work with. It's easy to bend and maneuver and hammer and all that, but I've always liked to use a little heavier stuff. It's easier to weld. And I'm running 35 wire in my welder. I'm not running 23 like most people do when they weld sheet metal, so I probably need to change it, but go to 23. But you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing. And anyway, let me jump on this overwhelming thing and see if we can get something figured out on it. Like I said, once you get started on something, it's not bad. You just gotta have a starting location. And except, like I said, with this, it's a little bit worse, because even when you get this done, you know, then you gotta start somewhere else. So anyway, let's get at it. Okay, we got some of our new parts in. We got a bottom radiator hose, and unfortunately, says it's right, but unfortunately it didn't come with a spring in it. So if the spring's not good in this one, we're gonna have to come up with one. I got a new belt. Hopefully that's right. Should be. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. You didn't have a lot of options in this year. You know, you wouldn't have to worry about power steering, air conditioning on most of this stuff. Rear wheel cylinders. I think these are rear. I'm pretty sure that these are the rear ones. The front ones, wait a minute, I'm wrong. These are the front, because these was the hard ones to get. Okay, these are the front, and I've still got the rear coming. And yeah, I'm sitting here lying to you. It says rear. I'll have to go back and look and make sure that I don't remember. Rear. Okay, so I must have the front on the way. And let me see. Center unit for the gas tank. I don't have the gas tank yet. Got the new wing glass in. I may end up buying another one for this side. We'll see. It's not broke. It's just bubbled. I got the beauty rings in, but I'm not too happy with them. You know, here's the original beauty ring. You can see how it's made, and you can see that it goes all the way back. Now, I wouldn't say a word if I bought these beauty rings here as just some, you know, off the wall, off the shelf beauty rings, but I bought these beauty rings for these rims. And I've got one on the other side. I'll show you what it looks like. So I bought them actually for this exact wheel, and I don't like it because they're narrower. You see a big gap in there. So now if I use them, I'm going to have to pull them off and paint inside there, because this is painted and this is chrome. So they should have been deeper, and I don't like that. Now, like I said, if I wouldn't say a word if I just bought them as a universal set of 14-inch beauty rings, but I actually bought them for them rims. So kind of bothers me. Little stuff like that, you know, that if someone was doing a correct restoration on a 68, 69 Camaro, I mean Mustang or Torino or whatever they had the wheels on, and they ordered them and came with a set that looked like that, you know, they would be a whole lot more pissed than I am, and I'm not too mad. So Australian made. I just noticed that. Made in Australia. So anyway, so we're working away on the floor. I've got another panel cut out. I've got this panel in. I got this one cut out. Now I've got to, actually I got to hammer some lines in, and then I've got to you know, cut the floor out to fit it and everything. So we're working on that now, and then we'll just continue to work our way back, and we will get it eventually. So I guess we'll be waiting until tomorrow for some more parts to see if we're going to have everything we need. Alright. Okay folks, moving along. Got more welding, grinding stuff to do here. And I got a little bit more messy on my hammer in here. Basically it's the same shape as it was, you know, when new. I just didn't continue these smaller ones down, and they come down a little bit farther. So this is heavier sheet metal, so it's not really going to matter, but just trying to keep it from looking flat. Okay, we got more parts in. Finally got the master cylinder. Got the rear wheel cylinder. So ones I showed you yesterday was the rears also, but they were supposed to be fronts, so they're sending me the right set. 1/8 inch difference in the bore on the front and the rear. Smaller on the rear, 1/8 inch bigger on the front. And here is 5 left-handed lug nuts that I was missing. So I think that's about it for now. I'm going to go back to working on the floor. We're getting there. We're getting closer and closer. I've still got here, and over on the other corner on the other side, and right here. And we're going to replace from my sheet over that way. So hopefully that'll take care of it. We're going to get in here and scrape all this undercoating out that I can. The hump's probably not going to come out because it's on there really good, but the rest of this probably scrape out, and then clean this out good. And then I've got some rust converter we'll put on it, and then I've got some undercoating spray. I'm just going to undercoat it, rubberize, try to thicken it up a little bit, maybe keep it a little quieter inside, and maybe a little cooler. But and then we'll probably run it like that for now, and then I'll go ahead and buy some carpet for it. But I don't want to buy the carpet for it until I get the window situation right and the window seals right, because if it rains in it with the carpet in it, it's just going to ruin it again, and we don't need that. I did get my new glass in for my wing glass now. I've got it in it. So that's done. I've just got to get a window for the for the passenger side here, which would be the same as the driver's side, and maybe we'll try to get some new weather stripping and see how that turns out. But you know, it needs everything. It needs the felt, the seals. These gaskets are, I've seen some new old stock ones that are very expensive, so we're just going to live with that. Not going to worry about that. Like I said, we're just putting this thing together as a driver. Basically just figure that if you was driving this thing in 1951 and it broke down on you and you took it in to get it fixed, that's what I'm doing. I'm not repairing stuff that don't absolutely need repaired. You know, I only put one freeze plug in. I put one freeze plug in because there was only one leaking. Now this 6-cylinder, if another one starts leaking, it's not an issue to change a freeze plug out. But instead of replacing all of them, I just replaced the one. We're repairing this car, we're not restoring it, and we're going to make this thing road ready and road worthy. And I wish I knew what I knew now. I talked to the original owner again, the guy that I bought this from, and I guess he's had it since the 70s, and I think around 75, I think. But I was talking to him, really nice guy, and he's getting up in the years and selling a few things, so I'm actually buying another Studebaker from him that's pretty, well, it's a good one, let's put it that way. Not good as in condition, it's good as in, you know, a good model car. I think everybody will like it, and we'll have it here in a couple weeks. But anyway, what he was telling me was, you know, this has got small brakes. The adjusters are cam adjusters instead of having the center adjustment at the bottom like a newer vehicle's got, where you can go in with a screwdriver and adjust both shoes out. You got cam adjustments, and I'm assuming front and back, where you got to adjust the front shoe and the back shoe, and not very big brakes on it. But he told me that anything from 54 up to I think 63 or 64, you can take the backing plates and they'll bolt right on and run the drums off the other vehicle, and you'll have a bigger set of brakes. You'll have the updated version of the adjusters. But that is good to know. I wish I knew it before I started buying parts, but I mean, it's not a big issue. You know, we don't have any hills here and we don't plan on driving it much, so you know, as long as it stops as good as it stopped when it was new, then that's what we're going for. And anyway, so we'll keep at it, and I'll show you more. Okay, I got gloves on. There's an invisible guard on this. It's one I invented. I just haven't released it yet, so, but it's got a guard on it. All right, here's what we're doing. Cutting that out. Here's the piece I hammered out. Just a quick, you know, rough hammer job, but it's there. So what we're going to do is lay it in place exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to put a little weight on it with my foot, and then we're going to cut it. All right. Now what you want to do, you don't have to cut it all out. You just want to mark your cuts so you know where they need to go, and you can join them together. Okay, to get down in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a shorter disc. All right. All right, we'll do a little bit of hammering to get it where I want it. And then we'll get it mounted. Okay, I think we can work with that. Once we get it partially welded in, then we can start, hammering it exactly into place. But I've tried marking and cutting, and it just don't work as good as if you cut it just like I just cut it. That blade's thin enough that you can still weld the gap, no problem. And we're just fixing rust. We're not too worried about it. There's a couple of little tiny pinholes right here, or a little bit bigger than pinholes, but we're just going to seal them up. Everything that's rusted here is rusted from the top side. Nothing was rusted from the bottom side. Anywhere that the undercoating is, falling off of is where there's rust issues, and whether it be surface rust or all the way through. So it's not that big of an issue underneath. So what you're seeing here is the worst of it. The underside actually looks pretty good. So, we're just patching this together to get it going, and then when we undercoat this, we'll put it on good and thick and heavy. Actually, like they done, they put it on heavy enough that it actually covered 3/8 bolt holes that they had left in it for some reason. They just went with it. But we're going to treat this before we do anything else with that rusty metal 415, whatever it is I got. But anyway, let me start getting this tacked in, and I'll show you how we do it and show you what the finished product is going to look like. All right, folks, we got this one in and finished for the night, and get back on it tomorrow and see if we can get this floor completed and move on to something else. So, appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, bye. All right, folks, we got a mystery here. We got a hubcap with a V on it, and I've done research some, and it's not a Volvo, I don't think. So somebody tell me what this thing's for.